Welcome, class. My name is Mr. B, and this is Music Notes. On today's lesson, we are going to be navigating and learning about Studio One while simultaneously building and layering different drum tracks to get a nice drum loop. So stick around, here we go. All right, so today we are going to be making and learning about Studio One. We're going to be making some drum section, layering different sections of drums, and we're going to navigate through Studio One. So first, this is the timeline. And up here on the top, you can see that this is your loop section. You can loop whatever you want by just coming down here and pressing this. Okay, another nice thing about Studio One, if you're not sure what it does, we can enable, just hover your mouse over what you think it is, and it'll actually tell you. Also, this info window right up here is another great way to know what everything does in Studio One. Even without having that on, if you still hover your mouse over a function, it'll tell you what the function is. But for now, let's just leave that on and see what it can actually tell us about Studio One. Whatever we do have our mouse over, it will show you some information about it right here in this blue, with this blue text. Okay, so this is our loop function, and we can turn it on and off down here. Okay, it's an enable loop mode. Right now I'm going to set it for 8 bars. Remember, in music production, your number line starts at 1 and not 0. So an 8-bar loop would end at 9. If you're doing a mathematical algorithm, it'd be n plus 1 for all you algebra heads out there. So the number of bars, 4 plus 1, is going to end at 5. 8 plus 1, 9. 12 plus 1, 13. 16 plus 1, 17. 32 plus 1, 33. 64 plus 1, 55. Everything is going to be in multiples of 4. So we want to start thinking like that, especially because we're working in a time signature that is 4/4. Very rarely will you use a different time signature, but you can change your time signature accordingly. And we'll talk about what a time signature actually is and does in a accompanying video to this. Okay. So our time signature's at 4/4. The section down here at the bottom is called your transport. Transport. Your transport will enable play, stop, record, loop it active, return to 0, next marker, fast forward, rewind, and last marker. You can set markers and easily navigate between different sections of songs if you like to. The markers are actually located up here in the top section. Okay, now let's just finish reviewing this bottom tab down here. All right, now this is your tempo. This is where we can type in whatever tempo that we are choosing. Then we have transposing. That means moving notes up or down. And we'll do some exercises with transposing in a later session. Here is your key. This is where you select your key. And this is going to be very important also in making music harmonious and fitting together nicely. So we have our time signature. And then over here is our metronome. This is how you turn on your metronome. This little click right there. You can also press C on your keyboard, and I can How do I know that? Because it says it right there if I hover the mouse over the metronome. So easily turn on and off your metronome. We also have your metronome settings. If we select this, we can adjust some stuff with the metronome, like where the accent is, what sound the accent is, what sound it's going to be on the beat, and even an off-beat click. And we'll talk about what an off-beat and beat is in another video. But you can access them quite easily here. And before you actually record, we have pre-count. So I always have the pre-count enabled in at least one bar. So it'll count 1, 2, 3, 4 before it actually records. And when you start recording, that's going to be very important. This is how you access your pre-count and how many bars you actually want to include it in. Okay, well, what is a bar? This is a bar. It's a measure. From 1 to 2 is 1 bar, 1 measure, and within it there's 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if to zoom in and out like I am doing, simply put your mouse cursor on this timeline bar at the top and scroll up and down. Down will zoom out, up will zoom in. All right, let's see what else. Okay, now this is your time ruler. We can, all right, so we can also, right here, is exploring our global track parameters. Global track parameters, let's open that up, and we can see ruler, markers, chords, arranger, lyrics, video, time signature, and tempo. These are all adjustable here. Well, in this class, we're going to really utilize chords, and we'll talk about that in another lesson, and arranger in another lesson. If you want to include lyrics, you can include lyrics, which is pretty cool and exciting. You can also include video if you want to. Actually record yourself playing a guitar lick and knowing what you did at that time, or whatever creative vision that you have involving it. You can also change the time signature if you want it to change in the middle of the song. You could, not that common of a practice, but we can also do the same with tempo, which you can do. I don't suggest it, but it's possible to do. And all of these are located in your global window right here in the top. So with your arranger, the arranger is really great because we can have different sections. So for example, if I have an intro and I have a verse, and then after that I can have a chorus, and I can easily work with the arrangement this way. So there's a lot of benefits to having our global tracks. And our chords track is another really, really incredible tool for music creation. But we're going to save that for another lesson. Okay, so there is my global tracks, and I want to turn those off for now. Down here at the bottom, follow my mouse all the way down here at the bottom. This is going to be the time where your cursor is, how much time that you've actually used in your song. And this is some other information that we will talk about in a future lesson. Okay, up here at the top. Up here at the top, let me just open this up a little bit. We can see this is our grid. What is a grid? The grid are these lines. The grid is the most important tool you have in music production and in any DAW. Absolutely is. So if I zoom in on the grid, I can zoom in very, very far and get really deep into selecting and dissecting a bar. Right now, this bar from 54 to 55 is divided into 4 as 4 beats. But what if I zoom in a little bit? Now just divided by 2. So instead of 1/4, remember that, 1/4, I have now 1/8. And if I zoom a little bit more, right here, this is a 1/16. And our grid resolution is set to 1/16. This is very rarely changed, unless you're trying to get some kind of advanced triplets or advanced grid. We're just going to leave your resolution at 1/16. That means that through every bar from here to here, there are 16 pieces in one bar. And between each beat, there are 4 pieces. So 4 times 4 is 16. And this is going to be easily understood when we start sequencing. Because when we sequence drums, our resolution is usually set to 1/16 also. But this is also introducing your quantize. What is quantize? Quantize moves notes to the nearest grid point. Okay? This is how you can set your quantizing. It can get very elaborate or very straightforward. And we'll talk about quantizing later in another session. So right now I've got my bars set. You can set it to something else. And I've got my grid, 1/16, perfect. You can see like, okay, we can do 1/4 triplets, 1/8 triplets, swing, and a bunch of other crazy cool stuff that's a bit more advanced, but the capabilities are there. Okay, so now let's get into it. The browser at the bottom right. Now there's a bunch of other stuff that we're going to look into, but right now let's just look at these 3 functions. One is the browser. This is how you can browse through a bunch of different things like your instruments, your effects, your loops, your splice account, your files, and even going into the cloud, which is a super cool resource for Studio One users where you can download other people's presets and workflow that they've already created so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. That's really cool. You can even access SoundCloud, I guess, and just put your songs up there if that's something that you are doing. But we're not going to be doing that right now. So this is how you access your instruments, effects. These are audio effects, loops that comes with Studio One, which are pretty awesome, and then also the splice account, and which we'll talk about later in the semester. Okay, and then over here on the left, I know this is a lot of information, but you're going to get more familiar with it every time that you see it. Okay, I'm going to quickly just show you this. This is your track list. This is your information inspector. Here is options on how to be able to see things more efficiently. I usually have everything selected. And this is your automation, showing your automation. Okay. Let's go back down. Follow my mouse all the way down to the bottom right. All right, this is your browser, and this is your mix window. We don't have any tracks selected, but when we do, I'll open those up and show you again, and also your edit window. We don't have anything selected there. So let's actually get cooking over here, and we will import different drum tracks into Studio One, and then you can see the difference between the tracks and the channels. Then we can actually we'll make a nice drum loop out of a construction kit. A construction kit you'll often see in music production as a bunch of layers of a song that you can use in your production. They're incredibly intuitive and super fun and easy to work with. So that's where we're going to start. So let's go ahead and zoom in over here, and we're going to go to our files. You have already made a all sounds folder in your documents from the previous tutorial. So in your all sounds folder, go ahead and drop that down. I've installed and put into your all sounds folder this drum pack, or this music pack. And it's called Analog Evolution by Cymatics. And the first thing that we're going to do is open up Drum Kit. Analog Drum Kit. Okay, not the drum kits. Sorry, drum loops. In the drum loops, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different genres for you to choose from. All right. Now, you might not know any of these or only a few of them. So this is where we also build our musical knowledge about what music is possible. So let's open up boom bap, for example. Okay, so I like boom bap. Now, you're going to see the name of the manufacturer and then the name of the drum loop and then the tempo. These are pretty standard when using different loops. This little star for them is the entire loop. Okay, all of these subsequent pieces underneath it are the stems or multi-tracks, or the individual tracks that we will use to construct a drum loop. Well, why is this important? It's important to have all of the different drum sections on their own track so you can add different effects, adjust volume levels, and do a bunch of mixing and editing within it. If you have one solid drum loop, you're limited, although that sometimes we just use single drum loops. So when selecting a drum loop to start with, this is how we actually preview them. So you select the drum loop, and down here at the bottom of the browser, you're going to see play. It also tells you the information of what's going on in the file, and you can have play. You can have it sync to the tempo that your tempo is set to. This is extremely powerful because this song right here, this drum loop is set to 86 BPM. With this turned on, it'll play it at 100 BPM. So I can preview what it would sound like in my song or what tempo that I want it to be at. If I turn this off, it will preview at 86 BPM. Okay, that's turned off. And let's turn it on and set it to 100. Okay, this is also loops it. If you don't want it looped, you can turn that off. And if it's too loud, your browser, this is the volume of the browser. All right. Okay, got to edit that part out. Okay, so now, all right, now that I have selected the loop that I want to work with, I am going to, in my browser, first I listened to the loop that I liked, and now I'm going to simply drag and drop the files in Studio One. Select Shift to highlight all of the files, and then drag them and drop them. A lot of Studio One is drag and drop, which makes it incredibly intuitive and easy to work with. So I'm just going to drag those. Now these will now create individual tracks. Okay. What is a track? A track is a horizontal line containing audio or MIDI information. Basically, that's where the music is being played. Tracks can then convert into a mixing console, and these are called channels. Okay, there's a difference. These are tracks, these are channels. Usually they are connected, a one-to-one connection, like this track is being associated with this channel because they're audio. This isn't always the case, as you'll learn in some future sessions, but know that these are tracks and these are channels. Tracks are horizontal lines and channels are vertical lines. We can adjust the volume and a lot of the same parameters equally on both. You can see down at the bottom, I'm pressing mute on channel 1 and it's muting track 1. But that's for another session, okay? So let's go ahead and get into our 4. Personally, I have 4 tracks that I'm going to be labeling, color coding, and all of this fun stuff. And in order to get better vision out of it, you see I've got all of this empty real estate in my DAW. There's a really cool way to zoom in on just what tracks that you have. And if you press Option Z and I come over here, now I can visually see all 4 of my tracks much bigger. Nothing has changed. Now remember to zoom in and out of your timeline. Put the mouse on the timeline and with your finger you can scroll up or down. Down will zoom in, up will zoom out. Okay, so now I've got 4 different tracks. And yours might look a little bit different from mine. So let's go ahead and fix that. Open up Options. And in Options, let's select Colorize Track Controls. Now, when we're working with a lot of different components, coloring, labeling, and icons are super important so that we can visually see what we're looking for and what we're doing. So color coding is one crucial way of organization. And now that we have, also down here, select icons, track icons. And we're going to add some icons to our tracks, which is another fun way for organization. But first we need to color code. So drums in our class are always going to be the same. They're all going to be red. Okay? So I want to do multiple tracks at the same time. Press Shift, hold it in. So I'm going to select this first track. Then I'm going to come down to the last track. Now all of them are highlighted. And I'm going to go to this bar all the way at the left, which says Select Color, Track Color. Okay? So now I can select whatever color I want to, which is really easy. Now I'm going to color them all red. Okay, now they're all colored red. The next thing I want to do is to label them. Let's also review quickly what is in the tracking header, which is this part of the track which you can do different functions like solo, mute, record, monitor. Monitor is if you're playing a guitar and you haven't recorded yet, but you still want to hear what you're doing. Inputs and outputs, mono or stereo. That's what these will do. We also have some other things that we can adjust with the tracking header. Now, look at this little squiggly line down at below. This is really cool because this is your automation. And you already have 2 automation envelopes assigned, which is volume and panning. So if I go to here, I can automate my volume and my panning. And in Studio One, you can automate literally every single thing, and we're going to learn about how to do that in a future session. But just to know, this is right here to easily access your envelopes, your different volume and panning automation. Okay, for some reason this turned orange, so let's turn it back red. All right, now I'm going to label everything. What is this particular track? Well, we can solo it and listen to it. Okay, so that is hi-hats, and it also is stated on the region. When you get loops, professional loops, 9 out of 10 times all of this information is going to be given. Like, for example, the tempo, which is 87. Let me go ahead and make sure that's 87. Then I can change it later. Everything will time stretch to it. I want to relabel this. So you're going to double click on where the name is, and you're going to type in hats. Now, this is, I use capital letters, and I want you to use capital letters too. Why? Because manufacturers 9 out of 10 times put lowercase letters. So if you make any adjustments and it's all in capitals, that means you know that you personally made those adjustments. And it makes it really easy to navigate and see what you actually have done instead of what the manufacturer or whoever made the loop has done. Okay, so hats. I'm just going to leave it as hats. Now this is my kick. Okay, I'm going to double click here in capital letters, kick. And I usually put a 1. Sometimes we have more than one of a particular track. Now this, open hi-hat. So this is also a hi-hat. So let's go to hats, open. That means that this hats right here, we can say closed. All right, and then we have down here what is called a rim, as we know is, what is it? Snare. You got it. Okay, let's type in snare 1 here. Now I like to have everything in order too, so we can easily just move tracks, and it affects nothing except visually where you see them. I like my kick at the top and my snare behind it, and then I've got my closed hi-hat and my open hi-hat all together. Another really cool feature is that once you start like selecting lots of different tracks and you're soloing some and you're muting some, if you look down at the bottom right here, and what does it say? It says global solo. You can turn that on and off, and all of the tracks that you enabled for soloing or muting will turn off and on. That makes it incredibly powerful when you're trying to listen to something, and instead of going in, I'm going to turn this one off, I'm going to go up here, turn that one off. Now you can just simply turn them all on and off with one little click, and you're solo and mute global. Okay? All right. Let's add the icons. What is icon? It's a little picture. And since you have already opened up your settings tab and selected down here, where is it? Show icons. Okay. It's already enabled. So this is a kick. If I click here, okay, what is it? Drums. Let's go to drums. Kick in, kick out. That's for miking up drums. Well, I can just put kick, and that's it. What's this? This is my snare. Okay, here's a snare. Cool. I'll add that one. What's this? Hi-hats. Okay, here's a hi-hat. That's going to work. Here's hi-hats closed. Doesn't really matter. I just want a picture for a quick reference. And now I have all of my icons for each of my tracks. Currently, I have, let's do a pop quiz. How many bars is my loop currently? 4. Good job. Yes, it is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. But how can I get them to 8? In Studio One, it does have a looping function, but it also has another powerful function called duplicating, and it's super easy to do. I'm going to highlight what I want to duplicate, and then I'm just going to press the magic letter of D. Okay, so I'm going to highlight what I want to duplicate. All right, so it's all highlighted. Oops, not that. And now everybody press D. Boom. Now it is 8 bars. It doubled the length of that. And you can continue doing that. If you want a 16 bar loop, okay, bring this all the way to 16 plus 1. Highlight everything and then D. And now you have all 16 bars selected. So we're just going to leave it at 8. The last thing we're going to do is add a folder. A folder doesn't do anything in this particular lesson. It can do a lot of really powerful stuff, but today we're just going to put our tracks in a folder. All right, this is really cool because it's easy to do. This is your track selection, add tracks, and we have audio, MIDI, automation, and a folder. Oh, okay, so right here I want you to type in drum bus. What's a drum bus? Don't worry about it. We're going to be learning about that soon. And then 1, and then change your color to red. And, you know, I might just change it to a different shade of red because it's a folder, it's not a track. And now I press OK. Whoa, it's in a weird location. How do I get all these tracks into my folder? Yes, you just drag them into there. So you just take this and drag it in. Now this, you can see over here, is inside of this folder. The other ones are not inside yet. So when you select multiple tracks or multiple things, remember, hold down Shift and start someplace and then end up someplace else. And now just drag those into your folder. This is a drum bus, or contains all of my drums, a drum set. So for my icon, I'm just going to put a cute little drum set. This right here is how we open and close the folder. This also tells you what kind of track this is. The folder, you can see, is closed, and now it's open. Closed, open, closed, open. There's something satisfying about that. All right. That is a lot of information for the day, and just to get introduced to Studio One. I can't wait to hear your songs and see you again real soon.